Back with another IGTV video for you guys. This is going along the lines of the pharmacology series that I've been doing on here. And I really wanted to talk about injectable SARMs. So the title of this video is going to be something like SARM related injectable SARMs. Mainly because there was a video that released over the weekend or last week. I'm really not sure when it was released. But I had a lot of clients emailing it to me and asking me a lot of questions about it. I'm not going to say the video specifically because I don't want to call anyone out and anyone look bad, but it was a popular YouTube channel. They talked about SARMs, and about 80% of the information was just wrong. So I'm doing this mainly for the people that follow me that like to be actually educated on certain subjects. I'm not saying that I know everything, but this is at least from my perspective, my at least implementation and experience with, again, I think the number is almost exactly 174 people with SARMs specifically. Because not everyone actually wants to use PEDs. Not everyone wants to use actual injectable steroids, anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with SARMs, but people need to actually understand them so they can actually utilize them if they want to and if they even need to. So, first of all, thought of this analogy last night actually while I was sleeping. I thought it was amazing. Might not be, but I hope it is. Imagine you have two managers, okay? Two store managers, each one goes to a different store. The one store manager shows up at work and he only has one employee, and the employee's new. The employee knows how to do his job, he's not really good at it, okay? That's the SARM store. Go over to the other store. That manager goes, he gets to his store, and there is about 50 employees there that all know how to do their job very well. They're veterans of the store. They've been there forever. They do their job very, very well. That is the anabolic store. What I mean by that, if we pull that back, we take a step back and look at that, is that SARMs literally can only express protein. So SARMs literally only will build muscle. That's their interaction. That's the signal that they send. They cannot do anything else. So that means that they don't act on any other peripheral tissue in the body. That means that they don't do other things with tissues in the body. Okay? Although that sounds like an awesome thing, when you really look at SARMs, they express protein and they produce muscle growth at, I'll put a rough number of 10% of the ability of anabolics, of what the potential of anabolics could. And I say 10% from experience because I've seen people use both. I've transitioned people from one to the other, and the difference is dramatic. There's a lot of things, but I want to stay on that topic for now. So we have SARMs expressing protein at an okay rate, obviously more above natural limits. That's awesome. And this is in males. Keep in mind, this changes for females because SARMs is amazing for female athletes. So you have the SARMs expressing protein at an okay rate. You move over to the anabolic side. You have actual anabolic steroids producing and expressing protein at a dramatically more rate. So it's actually better at doing the one job that SARMs can only do. It also does a lot of other things. Look at glycogen retention, look at creatine synthase, look at fluid retention, look at its interactions with estrogen, changes in ion gradients, look at what it does from an actual GTO stimulation side of things. The list goes on and on for the potentials that anabolics hold. There are potential growth pathways through those other pathways. That's one of the reasons why they work so well, because they're so multifaceted in producing anabolic effects. So, not only if we took out all those other effects that are very beneficial if the time and place calls for it with anabolics compared to SARMs, you're still seeing anabolics blow SARMs away in terms of the pure protein expression side of things. Okay, so let's leave that. Let's kind of leave that there, and we'll just move forward a little bit. But just know that that's a very big point that you guys need to understand. Now there's also the dosage. When you look at SARMs, we'll say the dose can be anywhere from 5 to 50 milligrams. Again, depending on the product, it's going to need different amounts, depending on the gender, all that kind of good stuff. Any more than that is not going to produce better results. Not only in an actual cycle duration, but over time. So say you do 25 milligrams of Austerin now, and then your next time you do 50 milligrams, next time you do 75 milligrams, next time you do 100 milligrams. That's not changing. It's not getting linear increases. There's a certain amount, and there's a threshold with SARMs where it's almost like there's basically an adaptation response, and essentially there's only so much that SARMs can build. And after that, more dosage is not going to equate to more muscle. You look at anabolics on one side of things, and you start off with 200 milligrams, okay? You reach that, you actually use that as long as you can until you stop growing. You add more muscle tissue, which adds more androgen receptors. You take more androgens, increasing androgen receptors once again, and then guess what? You can take more drug over time. As your body weight goes up, anabolics are going to go up. So you have the dosage effect right there, where anabolics is going to produce growth over a very long period of time, where SARMs is going to be very limited purely from a dosage aspect. We have the difference in females. Females, I feel like, were made for SARMs. That's why I feel like they really do shine. For males, I just really don't think that they are going to be as beneficial as anabolics. I know they're not going to be as beneficial as anabolics, but especially when you look at the risk-reward ratio. Everyone says that SARMs are extremely safe. They don't cause any issues. I have about 125 pieces of blood work from various periods of time where people come back with horrible lipid panels that look like someone was crushing tren. I mean, they're that bad from a lipid aspect. Again, there's some reasons why I believe that's true, but that'll be a video for another day. But you have the same effect, if not a little bit less, on the anabolic side, but yet you're getting more bang for your buck. So do you want to take a product that is giving you a little bit of muscle growth and you know, some pretty bad side effects? Or do you want to go with the anabolics, which is going to produce more growth and probably less side effects? Now, keep in mind, that all needs to be kept in context, because anabolics can open up a chain of other interactions. Obviously, being that they're interacting with so many different pathways and subsystems, they can have the potential for more different kinds of side effects. But generally, I see SARMs actually being slightly harsher. And remember, this is all kept within the limitations of the person, of the dosage, and obviously our genetics is really going to determine how someone responds and their actual drug response as a whole. Now the final question brings into injectable SARMs. The people that I have had actually utilize injectable SARMs, they had it from a source, they decided to use it, try it out. What ended up happening was all of a sudden they start getting very full, they start getting very dry, very hard, and it looks ridiculous. You think, oh wow, okay, we must be onto something. All of a sudden they start getting the look on injectable SARMs that someone would get on either an injectable or an oral Superdrol. The simple fact that SARMs cannot do anything but express protein, and all of a sudden, whenever you injected it, it was starting to show glycogen retention, it was starting to show fluid retention, it was starting to show the signs of exactly what Superdrol does. That cannot happen because it can only do one job. It can only do that one job, which is expressing protein. So now that we're seeing all these other kind of effects from it, it's not that injectable SARMs work so much better than oral SARMs, but what we're really starting to see is, at least I believe, and I'm not calling out the company specifically, but what I believe is happening is that the product is being cut with something else of a Superdrol nature. Because the look that you get from Superdrol is very, very different than any other anabolic out there. And it's almost too much of a coincidence. You know, whenever you change from an oral to an actual injectable drug, it's not changing the characteristics. They may be magnified. Things may change on that level, but you're not all of a sudden going to have a drug that shouldn't do anything from a glycogen aspect, all of a sudden pushing glycogen synthase production. That shouldn't be happening, and that can't happen. Literally cannot happen. So maybe injectable SARMs do increase the protein expression more than the oral form. That makes sense to me. But still, whenever you're comparing it to anabolics, you're still looking at what? Anabolics being 75% better than injectable SARMs. I'm just not a big fan. And again, that's just from personal experience of clients utilizing oral and injectable SARMs, every different kind, getting blood work done, checking the results, and then them transitioning over into anabolics. Again, people can believe what they are, whatever they want to believe. This is just my personal opinion. I don't believe that if you are using above TRT, that SARM should even be in the equation, to be completely honest. If you're a female, they have tremendous application, though. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out theprepcoach.com. Remember, this is just my opinion. Don't get pissed and butthurt at me. These are just, a lot of the things that I stated were just facts of these drugs. Literally just looking at their pharmacological profiles and actually talking with pharmaceutical engineers that are light years above me on this. Because whenever I don't know something, I go find someone who's smarter than me that actually does and can actually explain it thoroughly. I back that up with the experience of working with individuals, and that is why I've come to that answer. Thanks again, guys. See you next time.